It's 2025. Wales have currently lost their last 16 test matches in a row.
16 men's tests. Don't forget the rest.
16 men's tests in a row. They did beat the Barbarians in the middle of that and the Queensland Reds.
Yes.
We're going to boot those out. What we're going to do today is the most Welsh activity of all time. We're going to go through those 16 test matches and rank them from most painful to least painful.
Just so you have a clue of how this conversation started, we were just talking before we started recording, and I said like, oh, you know what, like, the Ireland game was great. Like,
yeah, that was great.
That was our best game in years. And you pointed out that was our best game in this World Cup cycle.
This World Cup cycle. We are now over halfway through it.
Yeah.
We are more than halfway between the end of the last World Cup and the start of the next one.
And then you said, you know what, 42-0 against France wasn't that bad.
It was all right. It was all right in the context.
And at that point, we realised what we were saying.
Oh my God, this is awful.
So
being
we're
a
gonna
Welsh fan is the pits. So
we're going to try and figure
rank.
out what's the best, what's the worst, what's everything in between.
I'm going to say number one, and these will pop up on screen. We're going to have them on the whiteboard as well. Number one will be, we'll get onto this, but number one will be the one we enjoyed the most.
Oh, yeah.
Number 16 will be the most painful.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. It's hard to say best and worst objectively when they're all losses.
The one we enjoyed the most to the most painful.
Yeah.
Where
we felt the most optimism, let's say that.
Yeah. But it's very much on the feeling we had rather than an objective view of the performance.
Yeah.
Right?
Or points gained in it, or points scored in it, whatever. Yeah.
Because I think like the first test in Australia last year, for instance, it felt awful to watch. Like, it wasn't fun, but I thought Wales were better than they've been in a lot of the other games.
Yeah,
like, it was the one game we came out and played Warren ball properly.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, technically that's the best performance we put in this year. But like, it felt worse than Scotland or England, where they were a bit ramshackle but stayed in the game.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. We can agree then. Ireland at home, 2025 is number one.
Yep. Final score of 18-27 to Ireland. Wales didn't get a point out of this, and yet we are ranking it as the best Welsh performance, the most satisfying game of this World Cup cycle.
They really
so far.
tried.
Yeah. But
Ellis Mee ran his socks off.
Ellis Mee was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, you had so many, it was just like great fun, and there was a period where we got ahead. Like,
we made Ireland
solidly,
look human.
Like,
it was great.
That Blair Murray try, Blair Murray making the outside break, and then
tries a bit strong.
But it was like, it was really great. That was
Yeah.
like the absolute highlight.
That's the easiest bit.
That's the easiest one possible.
Of this whole video.
Right.
Is that Ireland was the most optimistic I've felt.
The other one is the bottom, right? And I think there's a few contenders for the bottom there, right? I think, obviously, losing to Fiji is shit, so you throw that one out there, fine. But I think the contenders for the bottom are Italy this year, which I think was the worst performance. I thought Wales had literally nothing going for them until they had two more at the end.
Italy didn't play well in that game.
Italy gave their weakest performance to the Six Nations, and yet
arguably their weakest performance under Casada, where they've lost to like Samoa.
They lost to Samoa, and I think they were worse against Wales.
Yeah.
And yet they beat Wales fairly comfortably in the end. Like, I know there was a comeback at the end, but
Wales got a losing bonus point out of it, which is mental.
2 tries from Mauls, and Aaron Wainwright being the only competent player.
Yeah.
I thought that was as bad as it gets. I thought that was awful. But then Australia in the autumn, when Australia ran out 52-20 winners.
You know what's awful is I remember looking back on that game, and there was parts of it where I was like, Wales were all right at that point, and then conceded a sloppy try when Nick Frost ran 60 metres or whatever. And then in the last sort of 30 minutes, genuinely, I've not seen them fall apart like that heavily. There was just nothing left at all. That was
to me,
terrible.
that was the moment it became a massive long-term problem. Up until then, it was a losing streak.
That was
okay.
We're just not a different.
But it hit a point there where you're like, oh, this is going to take years to overturn.
Yeah.
This could be 5 years.
Not on the same level as those lads.
Yeah, minimum. Like, we could be looking at a decade.
Yeah.
I've made this comparison elsewhere, but I think Wales, comparatively, are about 1993. Compared to the era where they've been shit for a little period.
Why are we doing this video?
1993, Wales came last in the Five Nations, but then went on and beat Namibia on a tour where Ireland lost to them. So hopefully that's what's coming up, is Ireland losing to Namibia. So I think Australia's right down the bottom. I think Italy this year is right down the bottom. There's then the elephant in the room, and I've sort of memory holed it too hard, is England this year. 68-14.
It was the absolute worst.
Yeah.
And I woke up that day feeling like optimistic.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we're playing against England and anything can happen. Form goes out the window. You know, it's just about who turns up and who wants it more on the day. And it just wasn't true. I mean, it was maybe partly true, but yeah, the team who wanted it on the day happened to be the team who were way, way better and not Wales.
That was the most points conceded. It was the biggest losing margin of this run. And it was
Record loss to England as well, wasn't it?
Record loss, obviously. And it was
and
also...
then Henry Pollock coming on at the end and scoring 2 tries was just hateful.
And like it being the local rivalry aspect, right? And there being perhaps the game where there was the most hope because Wales had been right in the previous 2 games. And I said this before the tournament, that it felt like the one game where England might slip up like they did against Australia, where they take their foot off the gas slightly because they know they should beat them comfortably. And they did beat them very, very comfortably, more than comfortably.
Yeah, yeah. So they're amongst the bottom.
I think those are our bottom 3.
Yeah,
right?
I think they are.
So, which one do you think was worst? I think, to be honest, Italy might have been the worst because I think Wales was so bad that I just couldn't see a way back.
Oh, it was quite unwatchable. Although, I'm not sure. I think because of the rivalry thing, England, I can't help but put that.
I didn't feel as bad about it because I was so used to losing at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's put Italy away bottom. With
2025?
Yeah.
22-15 in the end, but that's flat as Italy. No, flat as Wales.
And let's put England second to bottom.
Okay. Then Australia?
Yeah. 2 through 13.
What do you think is number 2? The second most satisfying one? Because I've got a very clear idea of what I think it is.
So,
I think...
Okay, I think it will be.
Yeah.
That second test out in Australia wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It's awful to be ranking it all the way up there.
I know.
And say it wasn't that bad. But
do you know what the final score in that game was?
We actually competed with them.
Do you know what the final score was? 36-28 to Australia.
That's not that bad. What? That's only 8 points difference.
It's the team that got slaughtered by Argentina a few weeks later.
Yeah, they did. And this was a rebuilding Australia team. That was where a load of Wales's excuses went out the window.
They'd just gone out in the pool stage. These were the first 2 games under a new coach.
And everyone's going like, oh, Wales are rebuilding. And then so are Australia and they beat us.
Yeah.
Like that first test was a bit more frustrating because all of those lads were like winning their first caps. At least in the second one, they were winning the second caps. But that wasn't too bad. Like, I mean, it wasn't great, but at least we were competitive in that game.
I think that's number 3. And number 2 is the comeback against Scotland. 2024 Six Nations, 26-27 to Scotland in the end.
Yeah.
And you kind of left that.
How did you feel at half time?
Wales were atrocious in the first half.
Yeah.
Wales were absolutely terrible.
We got ripped apart.
Terrible. But the second half, there was like a real sense of like, oh, we might be okay. Like if we're doing it on how much optimism we had, like this young generation of Welsh players coming on
to be fair,
and scoring tries
at
and getting
full
back in the
time,
game.
I didn't feel dreadful in that game.
I felt like, oh, we've actually got something going for us, right? So I think that is number 2, and the Australia second test was number 3.
Let's do that.
God, this is awful.
Yeah.
The other one that stands out when you're looking at this, right? Do you know how many times Wales have come within the remaining games? There were 3 where you came within 7 points.
Go on.
So Fiji, which I think is still awful. I think they're still near the bottom. They're still down there.
I hate Wales-Fiji as a fixture, so that's never... Losing to Fiji.
And losing it, and the Sam Costello thing, and...
Oh, God.
There being a late try to put us back in it. No.
And Gatland handled that so badly as well.
It was a proper moment of seeing through the cracks with Gatland, same as that second test, when he came out and complained about the referee, and Dewi Lake came out and said, we've got no excuses, our performance, not the referee.
That is very true.
How is it that...
That's very true. It's one of those weird things, like having grown up watching Gatland as the gaffer.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's like that moment where you first realise your parents are human and they make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that sometimes, you know, they'll do things wrong.
Yeah.
Like, realising, oh, wait, no, Gatland's being a dick about this.
Yeah.
With that Australia test, I completely forgot that was a thing with that maul try that was rightly disallowed. But Gatland did that for both Australia tests. And as you say, Dewi Lake overruled him in the post-match interview and was just like, no, we need to play better. Yeah. And he was right, funnily enough.
Absolutely. The others...
Fiji, where he threw Sam Costello under the bus.
Yep.
That was so childish.
Yeah.
And, like, I love Warren Gatland, but no.
Yeah. Italy in 2024 last year, where Wales scored 2 tries in the last few minutes, haven't been solid behind.
That was funny.
Mason Grady scores and almost the last play and starts like losing his mind, celebrating, and you're like,
Yeah.
what are you
Lorenzo
doing?
Parney scored a worldie.
Absolute brilliant try. I think then the other one might be number 4, which was 16-14 against England, last year's Six Nations. Johan Lloyd at 10. He was both like, he had a weird game.
Hey, I'm not having
weird
that.
game.
I'm not having that as number 4.
Basically lost the game because he tried to run it out from behind his own line and the Toji
Got
caught him
nailed
there.
by Mauro Toji.
Yeah.
And then Ben Earl scored like the simplest crash over try. Mate, that can't be the 4th best game
I think
of
it
this
is.
campaign.
I think it is.
We were awful. Like, I remember coming away from that game just feeling so flat.
And yeah,
just like
we had a chance to win it at the end. There was like genuine moments of standing up. Like we scored those 2 tries in the first half and led. It was Wales' biggest ever half-time
Alex
lead.
Mann's try in that game was nice.
Wales' biggest ever half-time lead at Twickenham. That game.
That's kind of mad.
Yeah.
But also, like, that was just such a sign of how like naive Wales were at that point. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, is that really?
I'm looking at the list and I genuinely think
We'll put it in 4th at the moment,
Okay.
and we might move it about later. Is that all right?
Yeah. The 5th, I think, is probably by default that Italy game where Mason Grady scores at the end. Like, which was bad. They were awful, but you kind of had like a hope at the end.
This is.
Or was it that first test in Australia? Which one do you think's?
Yeah, let's go first test in Australia.
Okay.
Because, again, Wales, like, Dewi Lake was playing.
Dewi Lake was fantastic in that game. And Ellis Bevan was really good.
Oh,
in his
he
first,
was.
Like, test start.
He was.
A really, really good game.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Australia 5th, Italy 6th. Okay. Those are all hateful.
Yeah.
So, okay, here's a
No,
quick...
No, there's one I think
got
needs to go up the list.
Yeah, I've got a counterpoint. Okay, look, we'll move those down.
Yeah.
I've got counterpoint. The South Africa at home, where...
At Twickenham.
No. South Africa
Cardiff.
in Cardiff, where...
Tom Rogers was class.
They completely trounced us, right?
Yeah.
We were not worthy of being on the same pitch as them, other than like Jack Morgan, who's incredible.
No.
However, there were just moments where it's like, well, we're playing against one of the greatest teams of all time. Let's just enjoy it. And like Josh Hathaway tackles Sia Khaleesi into touch.
That's the definition of mid-table for me.
Okay.
I think there's one I want to throw out as well.
Are you saying that's South Africa
Which
on
was-
Twickenham?
No.
Because that was so appalling.
It wasn't, but like Sanjay made an intercept and he was so slow and it was funny.
Also, don't like the
France-
fact that he's still using the name Sanjay, but that's
France in
a whole different thing.
2024, right? Max Boyce gives that like rendition of hymns and arias before the game. Wales come out unbelievably fired up. Crowd is so behind them, and Wales are in it for the first half. And
Yes.
Joe Roberts scores to put them ahead just after half time.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
they absolutely capitulate.
Yes.
And lose like 24-45.
That's a
and charge down
great
try. But, like,
24-45 loss.
I think that might be number 4.
I think that's number
I think that's number 4. Okay.
What
we're
a
gonna bump them out.
great way to get fucking battered by
I know.
France.
That is one of the best like 21-point losses you'll see for some time.
Yes, you're talking my language. So
Okay.
that's number 4.
So that's bumping up, right? That was a good one.
France. Max Boyce really did his bit. Dav Jenkins had
Max Boyce played
Stormer
the
in
match.
that game.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, mate. I mean, I say Stormer like, you know, it ended
Thomas
up
played
with,
well.
It ended
scored a
up with
try.
Roman Taufifenua getting a charge down.
Yeah.
And Louis Bielbiare being ridiculous, and that being the start of
Rio Dyer
him
though.
being incredible.
Rio Dyer's try out of nowhere.
But the lads tried, right?
That is the
That's the bar.
That's where we're at.
That's the
Okay,
bar.
right. We're now into mid-table. And I
are.
think the two games against South Africa.
That
can
South
fit here.
African one, number 8.
Okay,
I reckon.
yeah.
That one that I was on about.
Yeah, because you expected nothing. And I think they overperformed. Like, I thought it would be 60 points, and it was only 45.
Oh, that's
And they
not
scored
that
12.
bad. That's
So,
not
like,
that
that's
bad.
all right.
Yeah.
That's fine.
As I say, like, Josh Hathaway put in a big hit.
Yeah.
Um,
The Twickenham one wasn't great.
at one point, Jack Morgan put a big hit on Etibet as well, and that was really good for
That's
him.
great.
I remember Jack Morgan played really well in that game, but also he played well in all of these that he played in. So, and the ones that he didn't play in, Dewi Lake played really well in. Anyway.
I think Scotland and Murrayfield is sitting around here as well from this year, where Talupe was great. And Wales weren't good, but like they had a couple of moments.
Yeah.
And Talupe was superb.
It wasn't a good
And that
game, but the
helps.
bar is so low. Let's put Scotland 9.
Yeah. Remaining, we have the World Cup quarter-final against Argentina,
Oh, God, that's in this.
which is like, that was incredibly painful because I thought we might win it.
Oh,
expecting
I
us to
didn't
win it.
realise that was in this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. That's a weird one because, like, Wales were good at that point.
Yeah, they've been good the last few weeks.
There is an argument that could be first, right? Because obviously that was a different Wales team.
Yeah.
And that it felt so different. And, like,
But it was
we were
the
good
most
back then.
gutting at the same time because
also
I thought
we-
we should have won that game.
We didn't know what was to come at that point.
No.
Yeah, the Nicolas Sanchez intercept was.
But I think
really
like you still held.
sour.
I think that is mid-table because you were still holding on to some hope, but it was maybe the most crushing loss.
You've got to make it relative,
but
haven't you?
yeah,
to
like they
what it
weren't
was in
as
at the
bad,
moment?
and I was a bit like, well, we'll be better in the Six Nations, won't we? We'll put a
Okay.
lot of this to bed. Where now I'm like, well, we've got to wait 5 more years before Wales are able to beat Georgia.
Okay. Right, before we pencil that one in,
Yeah.
at number 13, should we put in Fiji?
Yeah,
in the
I
autumn?
think so. Fiji goes in there.
Just because that was horrible.
Yeah.
And we knew it was coming, and it was just a slow and painful death that even when we went 12-0 up and Cam Winnett got that try disallowed,
Yeah.
you still knew that it was just not looking good, Brev. So, yeah. Okay, there's 3 left to assign, so we're looking...
those games are Argentina in the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
Ireland last year, 31-7, which actually I think could be higher up because Wales was solid for the first half. Like it was like 12-7 or something at half-time.
Yeah.
Like Wales were in that game for like 50 minutes. And that is the bar, apparently. And then South Africa at Twickenham is the other one we haven't assigned.
South Africa at Twickenham was hateful.
It was just like,
It just
was
went
bleak
so
rather than
badly,
anything else.
yeah. I think that goes next at the bottom,
Yeah, okay. I'll go for that. And
which
then
is technically an away game.
I think that Ireland game goes next at the top and Argentina then lands in the middle of these.
Okay. So
So I think
Argentina-
Ireland, like there was some hope, like we were in it for half,
Yeah.
which is fine.
So
our comprehensive ranking of Wales
comprehensive
losses over the
Okay.
last 3 years.
Are you ready? Do you want to go
Yep.
from the bottom or the top?
Let's go from the bottom.
From the bottom.
Like where Wales are.
So the worst one that we've decided is Italy away 2025 Six Nations.
That was the one where you felt there's
was so
truly no
bleak.
hope whatsoever.
I think that made me lose hope in rugby rather than just Wales.
Yeah.
Just because it was because the game was so bad.
Cost
rather than
Scotland his
anything.
job.
Yeah, that was an awful game. Next from bottom is my least favourite, England at home 2025 Six
Yeah,
Nations.
I think you might be right. I think maybe there is an argument that is the worst.
Yeah.
I think just like it was
So
a numbness.
horrible.
Like I was so numb to all of it by that point.
And that was in the Sherritt era. It's the
Yeah,
worst bit.
if those two had happened the other way around, I think that definitely would have been
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah. You've got a point. Next, so 14th on the list was Australia at home in the Autumn Internationals last year, where
Yeah.
they could put 50 points on us.
52-20.
The worst bit was that bit where Ilan Nikitau called the ball out the back and there was no one outside him and he scored. That was the worst
Well,
bit.
it's Tom Wright's try at the end
Oh, God, yeah.
to move beyond 50 when Wales were on attack.
Tate McDermott fully took the piss out of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
It looked
awful.
so easy for them the entire way.
Yeah. Next on the list is us losing to Fiji. I can't believe that's only the second time that's ever happened because it feels like a regular
every single
occurrence.
game.
Yeah, and
Not
it's
just every
well
game against
documented how
Fiji.
much we both hate playing against
Yeah.
Fiji or watching Wales play against Fiji. But that was really weird because just usually it's really stressful and I'm like, it really matters to me that we don't lose to Fiji.
Yeah.
Whereas on that one, it was like, well, yeah, that's just kind of what should have happened.
Warren Gatland was asked after that game, where's the next win coming from, Warren? And he said it was supposed to be today.
Okay, so in 12th place, South Africa away at Twickenham in the summer of 24.
Yeah, okay.
That was our
was
like
fine. That was okay.
fifth to worst.
That wasn't that bad.
Oh, it wasn't good.
It wasn't that
really
bad.
wasn't good. I just have flashbacks to Sam Costello giving that intercept to Kane and Moody. and
Yeah,
running
in
under the
slow
sticks.
motion. It was only 41-13. What more do you want?
Yeah, I guess so.
We didn't concede 50.
Who scored for Wales in that game? Was it Derry Lake?
Probably.
Yeah, it was a Wales game. Anyway, 11th is the Argentine quarterfinal that crushed Welsh rugby. It's the most hope that we have had in several years, and that is the 6th from bottom was the moment that this all started to go
If
downhill.
you did an Irish version of this, of every loss they've been through, every game they've been through over this World Cup cycle, going back to last World Cup, their quarter-final loss, going out at the same stage, in a game they were less heavy favourites for, would be bottom.
Yeah.
For us, it's mid-table.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that because I would probably say, not that it really matters, but out of all of the quarterfinals that happened that weekend, that Welsh one was the least agonising, loss.
Yeah.
You know, you look at how France went out, that completely stopped the nation. Ireland feel haunted by it. They bring it up still to this day all the time.
Yeah.
They felt they choked there. And Fiji, it was their big chance. And
Yeah.
Owen Farrell sunk them with that drop goal. Yeah. The Welsh one was, the Sam Casello intercept was heartbreaking for
And
him
sort of
because he's
broke
such
his
a good
career for a
player.
long time.
Yeah, and he should have, and Warren Gatland obviously really rightfully defended him after that. But it didn't last very long, did it? Look at the Fiji game. Anyway, so we'll wrap this up. Ireland 2024 31-7 is the 10th place. That is our 10th best game since the last World Cup.
It was only 31-7.
Yeah. After that, we're looking at Scotland this year, where Talupe Faletau scored
that was
try
all right,
and
though.
carried people
No, that
on
was
his
all
back.
right.
Yeah, that was good fun. Blair Murray had a laugh in that game, didn't he?
He did a
He
hurdle.
hurdled a man.
He did a hurdle.
That definitely propelled that up a few places,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
it? Was Blair Murray hurdling someone.
Max Bowen scored
a
at the
whole
end.
man.
What a day.
Yeah.
Gareth Hanson
okay.
did a little chip.
In 8th, we've got South Africa at home, where they pasted us by 40 points. But
Yeah, but of
as
course
I
they
say,
did.
Yeah, of course they did. But Eben Etzebeth got tackled in that game,
Yeah.
as did Cheslin Colby. So I feel like you've got to change your expectations a little bit, you know. Why are we doing this? 7th place, we have got France 43-0. Oh, no. Wait, we've not put that one in there.
Have we not?
No, we've not put France 43-0 away this time. They've lost one more game than we thought.
Okay, where's that going?
By default, it's going in next. It's
Yeah.
going in. It's going in here because you know what? Wales were shite, okay,
Yeah.
but we got to watch Antoine Dupont doing his
Exactly.
thing. So we were like, oh well, at least we're losing to Dupont.
I can't stay mad at France.
Yeah, at least we're losing to the GOAT. So that is 8th place. So everything else we've just said moves down one.
Okay, it's 17 games, fine, okay.
Yeah, so thankfully, the good news is that Ireland 31-7 loss was only the 11th best game since the last World Cup. Okay, so 8th place, we're going France 43-0 this year. Was the 8th best game of our campaign, but it's fine because it was just Dupont being crazy and he got man of the match. It was beautiful to watch as a
He only
Dupont
played
stan.
a half.
Yeah. Then in the next place, we have Italy in 2024, where Mason Grady scored that try, where he just kind of jogged it in.
And we all went, okay.
Okay.
But it was like one of those weird things, right, where losing to Italy when we'd done it before, 2 years earlier in the PFAC, was a travesty. And people had like big investigations, and ultimately it was 50% of what cost PFAC his job, right?
Yeah.
It was a combination of that and then losing to Georgia afterwards.
Yeah.
That game we all expected to lose. It
was
we were
normal.
Like, well, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that
How
was literally
badly
it.
we lost at home. to
That
Italy.
shows how far the bar has shifted
Yeah.
and the fact it's so high up this list. Okay, next we have the first test against Australia in 2024. So
Yeah, it was fine. Like, it was bad.
yeah,
But,
the vibes weren't great, but at least
No.
Dewi Lake had a good game.
and
so
yeah, at least Bevan was good.
yeah. Next is England away 2024,
Guess so.
where Johan Lloyd did the things, and
Yeah.
Alex Mann scored that try.
Alex
and
Mann
was
scored that
nice.
great try, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, then 4th is France at home with
Yeah.
Nolan Le Garrett reverse pass in 2024.
Game we lost by 21 points.
Yeah. But hey, how much fun did we have in the process?
True.
3rd place, so this is the 3rd best game since the 2023 World Cup for Wales, was the second test away in Australia, where it was just a very sticky game.
Yeah.
And,
But you came out of that, like, fine. You
Yeah.
know, like, okay.
like, at least it was just, I just felt crushed
You
at
could-
that
the
rather
thing is,
than, like,
yeah.
I wanted to die.
You could see who the players that were going to stand up one day were in that game.
Yeah.
And all of them were called Dewi Lake.
Yeah, but that was it. At the end of that game, I think my feeling was just like, oh, when will this end? Rather than, oh my God, this will never end.
Yeah.
You know, so that's something. Anyway, the second best game was the game where Scotland went in 17-0 up at half time.
I think it was more than that.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it was 20-0 at half time.
20-0 at half time.
Yeah.
Where Sione Tuipulotu was just waltzing through us all game. So that is the second best game of this World Cup campaign for Wales. And the best game was Ireland at home in 2025 with Ellis Mee in the Principality.
Didn't pick up a point.
Didn't pick up a
Didn't
point.
get a match day point. But that is undeniably number one. What a stupid thing to do.
So-
what a stupid campaign. Where do you think the 2 losses to Japan this summer are going to rank?
Oh God, they're going to be awful. But no, they're not, because I don't know. I don't know what winning feels like anymore.
Yeah,
from a Welsh
James Ratty
perspective.
will be playing, so it'll be
Yeah,
all right.
that's quite
I guess.
nice, I guess. Good for him.
Yeah.
Like, if Ruben Moore Williams gets on, I'll be quite happy for him, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Max Page, he's going to play.
yeah. Ultimately, the elephant in the room is the most important game out of all of these is the big test against the Queensland Reds that we won. Come on, up the boys.
Genuinely, where would the Barbarians and the Queensland Red games rank on this? Are they number 1 and 2?
Yes, they are. Easily.
Yeah.
The Reds game was
I don't think they
class,
are. I think they're 2 and 3.
I mean, yeah, the Reds.
I think they're number 2 and 3.
The Reds game
That's
we
the
almost
most
threw
distressing
away.
thing. Yeah.
Like, let's be
no,
honest.
Queensland Reds is down here somewhere.
The story of the Queensland Reds game was that try that they ran in, where Jeff Tumangarallen held onto the ball for about half an hour. That was the highlight of that game.
Yeah.
And then Kieran Hardy accidentally scored at the end and won Wales the game. The
Try machine,
Barbars
mate.
game, I barely remember. Oh wait, Thomas Williams did that little.
Yeah, George North did a through the legs pass.
That little goal line dropout.
Yeah,
that went straight.
George North did a through the legs
to them.
pass. Like, it was class. No, so that's number 1. Ireland is number 2, and Queensland Reds number 3.
Oh my God. The best game was the one where we charitably brought off Lee Halfpenny and put on Kieran Hardy at fullback. Yeah, all right, that is the way it would go. But, okay, so I'd just like to invite, like our friends, the likes of like Rugby Bits and people who support South Africa, if you want to rank all of your team's best to worst games since the last Rugby World Cup, then be my guest.
easier than we have.
Do you think that the worst Springbok game would be as bad? No, would be better than the best Welsh one?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think it
Yes,
would.
I do.
It's almost like they're a better team, innit?
Should we do something else?
Yeah, let's do it. Why'd we do that?